Welcome to another episode of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame podcast, where we share the stories of basketball experiences in our state. I'm your host, Chris May. The career of Calbert Cheaney needs no introduction, but in the next 40 minutes, he'll tell you how a kid who rooted for Evansville Bosse High School and the Purdue Boilermakers and had no clue he could be good enough to play college basketball, became an Indiana All-Star at Evansville Harrison High School, the all-time leading scorer at Indiana University, the National College Player of the Year, and played 13 seasons in the NBA. If all of that isn't enough, he'll share his experience with Bob Knight. He'll rattle off a long list of former teammates, including Brad Brownell, Chris Lowry, and Walter McCarty, and he has a memorable playoff game experience against Michael Jordan. Here now with his story is Indiana basketball legend Calbert Cheaney. So, Calbert, I'm interested in starting with your childhood, your family, and all those sorts of surroundings, but then also how and when basketball started to come into your childhood and into your life.
I think basketball came into my life when my father introduced me to it. My dad was a pretty good athlete himself. He played basketball, ran track at Lincoln High School, the old Lincoln High School. So he kind of introduced me to it, got me into the game. And once he would take me over to playground to go shoot baskets, and once I started doing that, I kind of became addicted a little bit to playing.
Do you have any first basketball memories, whether that's you playing a game or watching a game or going to a game, anything like that that sticks out in your early years?
I think I would say my first basketball memory would have been when I was little. I went to a Bosse High School game, basketball game, and that was when they had Derek Dow, Myron Christian, those guys, when they had a very, very good team. They were I think they might have been one of the better teams in the state, if not the country. And I went to one of those games. I think they ended up playing Harrison High School, and they kind of annihilated Harrison that night. And when I saw that game, I was like, man, this is great. You start to realize and try to imagine yourself being down there playing.
And so even at that young age of that game, did you realize you were going to go to Harrison, or were you rooting for Bosse? I mean, what do you recall of that?
Oh, no, I was a Bosse fan all the way. I was a big-time Bosse fan. Where we lived on Gum Street, which was in Bosse's district at the time. So with Coach Mullen and those guys, and like I said, Derek Dow, they lived right around the corner from us. Like I said, yeah, Myron Christian, Evie Waddell, all those guys playing for the team. And, my original choice, obviously, I wanted to go play for Bosse because Bosse had the best basketball team in the state, not only in the city, but in the state. So that was my dream.
We're going to get into that a little bit later on. Back to your dad, the playground. Where was that playground located, and what sort of memories do you have of playing there, shooting there, or whatever else might have occurred?
We used to, my kindergarten and first grade year, me and my sisters went to St. Benedict. So when we go, like on the weekends, obviously we went to school there, but on the weekends, my dad would take me over to the St. Benedict playground, and we'd go shoot over there, or we'd go to Bear Park, right around the corner from where we lived, and we'd go shoot over there as well. So we had a couple of spots where we would go, but he would take me out to go shoot, and at the time when I was that small, I was slinging it up there as opposed to like really shooting. He was trying to show me how to shoot and everything, and I'd get so addicted to it, and when it came time to go, I'd start crying because I didn't want to go. I wanted to keep shooting, and but that's just how it was. And I really do appreciate my father for introducing me to the game. And like I said, I enjoyed those times back then.
So I'm interested in learning more about your father. You mentioned he was an athlete himself. Tell us a little bit about him, and then, of course, obviously how he impacted and helped teach you the game.
He was a great man. He was in the Air Force for I think about 7 or 8 years. But then he worked at George Cook and Son in Evansville, Indiana steel mill. So he was a big time athlete when he was little. At least that's what he said. So He he ran track. I think he played basketball, but I think his sport was track. He was really really fast. We would always have um, races, and I could never beat him. And I would be crying my eyes out because I could never beat him. And finally, I might have been maybe 12 or 13 years old. I think that's when I finally beat him. And I tell you what, that was probably one of the better days, one of the best days of my life when I finally beat my father in racing. So yeah, but he's a good man, great athlete, but he can run like the wind too. And when I finally was able to beat him, that actually checked off one of my things on my bucket list.
I was going to say, I'm sure that's a great accomplishment for a kid that age.
Oh, no doubt.
So, back to your childhood, back to the basketball experiences. Does there come a point where you're in neighborhood games, or you're riding your bike somewhere, or what are those types of things once you get beyond that early kindergarten, first grade type of age?
Yeah. We started to play neighborhood ball. There's a place down the street from where we live. I can't remember our neighbor's name, but he would allow us to go into the back and play in his on his goal in the backyard. And so we would play there. We would go to out to Plaza Park. They used to have run games out at Plaza Park, and we used to go out there all the time. So I would take my bike. We would all ride our bikes. So I lived down around probably, I don't know if you're too familiar with Evansville, but we lived like more near downtown, and Plaza Park was out on the east side. So we would get on our bikes early in the morning, and that was back when kids actually went outside and played all the time.
We're going to talk about that too.
So we went out there, and so we'd get on our dirt bikes, and we'd ride all the way out to Plaza Park and go play, go eat lunch, and then come back and go play some more, and then ride all the way back by the time that blue light came on at night. And so we would do those things, and then we'd also play two-hand tag in the street, football, all the time as well. So we kept ourselves busy in those springs and summertime, right? Especially when school was out.
And you mentioned the tag football. Did you play baseball or any of the other sports? How focused at that age were you on basketball?
I was all sports. I didn't really, I loved playing basketball, but I also loved running track. I loved playing baseball. I loved playing football. I played in the Lakeview Optimist League in football when I was growing up. And then we went from there to South Youth League out on the east side. When that went from football to, you go from football to basketball, and then go from basketball to baseball, or to the track, I'm sorry, and then the summertime was baseball. So we, South Youth League and baseball, football ran around, was Lakeview Optimists, played for the Packers, and then played for the Bengals at the top league. And then when track came around, I ran track for my Lodge Elementary School. I went to Lodge Elementary, ran track there. And in my middle school, I went to Washington Middle School and ran track there, and so on and so forth. So, like I said, I was an all sports kid. I loved playing all sports. Really enjoyed it. A lot of people say that I was better at baseball than basketball, but I kind of thought I was pretty good at that as well. But so it was. I just enjoyed playing all sports. I didn't really care at the time. I just enjoyed playing, being outdoors.
Was there a point in your childhood that you realized basketball was either a great love, or you were pretty talented, or is there a moment that kind of sparks?
Well, the moment sparked. I enjoyed playing, but it really didn't dawn on me to really take basketball to the next level until I got to high school. And, Coach Gerald Van Dieven, who was my coach at the time, he had just gotten the job at Harrison High School. I think before that he had been coaching at Boonville High School. Boonville had been really good the last few years. And I think first couple of weeks he was at school because, not only he was the coach, he was also, I think, the discipline counselor too. So he doubled as that. And he called me into his office and said, "Hey, Cal, you have an opportunity to be one of the best players in the area. If you continue to work on your skill and your abilities, you have a lot of natural ability, but if you continue to work on your game, and if if that part of your game catches up with your natural ability, I promise you, I'll get you a scholarship to play college basketball." And at the time, my family didn't, they really couldn't afford to send me to college. My mom and dad got divorced when I was like 9 or 10. So she, basically working out a single parent home, and we didn't have the means to go to college. So for me to go to college, so for me to get a scholarship would have been like I was over the moon when Coach Van Deventer told me that. So once he told me that, it kind of like the switch kind of popped on, and I really dedicated myself to trying to become the best basketball player I could be.
So it sounds like that was a really eye-opening conversation and experience in your life.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Because at the time, Harrison wasn't very good at basketball at that time, and when he came, everything, I think the complexity, the whole complexity of who was the better team in the city would kind of change. Because at the time, it was Bossy and Memorial for the most part. Trickle in a little bit of modern day, but then when Coach came, we kind of took over the mantle for a little bit of time at that point.
Especially for any younger listeners, any kids who are aspiring basketball players, give us some insight into what kind of motivation, drive, hard work. When Coach Van Deventer says you've got a chance to go get a college scholarship, what is Calbert Cheaney doing to put himself in a position to end up going to IU and doing all the things that you do?
Oh, just work every day. Work hard every day. Even if I wasn't in the gym at the high school, I was out, playing on the playground. Every chance I got a chance, I used to carry a basketball around. I used to carry a tennis ball around, and I used a tennis ball. Since it was a small ball, I would dribble it everywhere, and that would in turn try to kind of give me a pseudo workout in terms of handling the basketball. Or I just go to at the Plaza Park, or I go to my neighborhood hoop and just go shoot, and all by myself. People got to understand is that you got people that can push you, but at the same time, the most important person that's got to push you is you. And if you do those things, if you push yourself to be the best you can possibly be, there's nothing that you can't do. And that's probably the one thing that to the young people of this world. You're going to have people behind you to help get you there and motivate you and give you advice. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's in charge of your own destiny. And so if you embrace that, you'll be a success.
I'm always interested in asking guys of your stature who've accomplished some amazing things, how much of your basketball ability was just that, was God-given ability, and how much of it was skill work that you developed to get better?
I was always a good athlete, but I think that I was terrible in the beginning. I was terrible at the basketball skill, so I really had to work myself into it. I could always really shoot the ball, but in terms of being able to dribble it, knowing the nuances of the game, knowing how to play, knowing how to get open, those things, I wasn't really good at it. And then, Coach Van Deventer really helped me with that. And then by the time I got to maybe my junior year, that's when I really started to start clicking. It started to click in terms of understanding the game, knowing how to play, knowing how to get open, knowing how to put the ball on the floor, understanding it. That's when everything started to really take off.
And I'm also curious, a guy of your age, you talk so much about the high school aspect right there in getting better. Mm-hmm. I'm also interested in how much might have been on the playground more of an improvised background, an AAU background, because in your time frame, that was becoming more and more of a deal with the travel ball.
Yeah, exactly. The AAU kind of helped me as well. Really helped. Coach Frazier, who coached our team, Mike Thomas Photography, that was our team, Evansville Basketball Club. I love Mike to death. He got us all together and we played. We didn't travel far, but we would play in the White River Park State games. We played in a couple of events I think one in Lexington, Kentucky, and a few where we had a chance to play against some of the better teams, not only in the region but also in the country. And that kind of gave me an idea gave me an idea, and our team an idea where we stood against the same type of competition, if not better competition. And that was fun. That was when AAU was kind of in its, for us, that's when teams were traveling, but they weren't traveling at the rate that they're traveling now. But we probably played maybe 6 to 7 tournaments in the summer, and that was it. But we had to make those tournaments count, and we did a lot of. We did it. It was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it, and that kind of helped me, gave me a gauge of where I need to be or where I was as a player and what I need to do to get better.
Who were some of those guys on that EBC team you're referencing there?
Oh, Walter McCarty, Chris Lowry. We had a pretty good team. We had Brent Kell. We had some guys that were pretty decent. We held our own. There were some times where we played against some guys that they were pretty dang good, but like I said, we held our own and did it. But let's just say we won more games than we lost. So, like I said, it was a tremendous experience. Like, we had a chance. We played together. We ended up winning the White River Park State games against actually my old teammate at Indiana, Greg Graham's team. So they, like I said, that was one of the highlights of our team when we were together. So it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it.
So part of the fun, for me at least, of this series is the reminiscing about high school experiences. And so that's where I want to head. You just mentioned a couple of guys I was going to bring up if you didn't. You mentioned kind of a changing of the tide. Bossy had been pretty good. Memorial hadn't been bad. But then in your era with Harrison, you play with Chris Lowry in high school. I think you and Walter just missed each other as far as varsity, I think. But
yeah, we did.
Talk me through.
Unfortunately, that would have been fun.
Yeah, that's my first question: is if you guys were playing together in the summer, what's a Chris Lowry, Calbert Cheaney, Walter McCarty team? How do you defend them? How do you stop them?
You have a tough time doing that. You would have a tough time at the time. People didn't realize how good Chris was. Chris was unbelievable. I ended up going to Southern Illinois, and he was a big time athlete too. Could duck the ball at his size. Could shoot it, could handle the ball, played really good defense. And then you had Walter. Walter, his size and ability to shoot the ball, put it on the floor, and his tremendous athleticism. He was more athletic than I was. So we had a lot. Like I said, we had a lot of fun times. It was fun playing with those guys. And the thing with Walter was at the time, Coach Van Diemen wasn't allowing freshmen to play with. On the varsity team. I think the first player he actually let play with us as a freshman was Brent Kell, and as a freshman. So up until that point, I got at the time Walter probably, and at the time into Walter's defense, he wasn't really ready yet. He wasn't quite ready yet. He was still really, really skinny, but he still had the ability and the skill. At the time, him being able to help us right then and there, we had Carl help, we had Jay Stewart, so we and a couple other guys, Sean Wise. So at the time, we really didn't need Walter, but it would have been fun to play with him, and that would have been great.
And so, just to clarify, your senior year of high school was Walter's freshman year?
Exactly.
Okay. Gotcha. You've mentioned some other names. I'm interested, the Evansville high school scene in your high school days. Who were some of the other top teams, top players, conference rivals, sectional opponents, any of those sorts of things?
You had Bossy, you had Dirk Soros, Matt Wandering. They would always be good. You had North. I can't remember the guy who played for North. He was really good. Jerome Hill, I think, played for North High School. Memorial had... my goodness,
we're going back
Anderson.
A few years.
Jeff Anderson. Those guys, they had a really good team. They were really good, and then so those are probably the main three. It was us, and for the most part, it was us, Memorial and Bossy, who always battled it out. And then you trickle in some North at the time with Jerome Hill. We were the ones that usually fought it out for the city in the SIAC title at the time.
And in your time, did you have not only the conference, the SIAC, did you have a city tournament during your high school days?
Yeah, we didn't have a city tournament. You mean like the sectional, or you just saying you talking about the city?
I meant like an actual city tournament during the season before.
No,
okay.
We didn't have it. We didn't have a city. They took the best records from the best record, and then whoever had the best record at the end of the year was the city champion.
Okay. Yeah, I'm also interested from an outsider's perspective. Did you play games at Roberts Arena? What was that?
Robert Stadium?
Robert Stadium, yes.
Oh, yeah. We played there. At the time, Boston didn't have a dedicated arena of their own. So Robert Stadium was their place to play. And that was their home. So anytime we had a chance to go play at Robert Stadium, that was unbelievable, man. So University of Evansville played there all the time. And man, we get a chance to play on that Robert Stadium's court, man. That's gonna be wonder. That's gonna be love. And and also our sectional was always at Robert Stadium as well. So it was a tremendous honor and a privilege to play on that floor with all the people that come through there at the time. The great University of Evansville teams, the ACES teams that play on that floor. The place seated 10,000. It sat underground. When you went in, you walk through the concourse, and then all of a sudden it just drops. The seats, everything drops down to the floor, and it was probably one of the best arenas I've ever been in. And it's a shame that it's not there anymore. And but it was definitely a monument of Evansville history.
I'm interested in any memorable games from your high school career that stand out to you. I know you had I think 47 maybe was your high school career high, I should say. Any big rivalry games, big scoring games, big-time matchups, anything that stands out to you?
No, the one thing that stands out was Boston. Because Boston, like I said, had dominated the city for so many years. And we had played them there. And we finally beat them. And when we beat them, I think that at that time it was Brad Brownell. At the time, we were head coach of Clemson. We were Derek Kelly, myself, Tim Moore. That's when we finally beat them there. And when we beat them there, that was tremendous. That was big. That was huge. And then that kind of, I didn't say it didn't quite turn the tide, so to speak, but we let everybody know that we were on the map and we were here to stay.
I did want to go back to something you mentioned about Coach Vandeventer and the no freshmen on the varsity rule. So did you crack varsity as a sophomore? What was your early introduction to Indiana high school varsity basketball?
Oh, sophomore year. Yeah, I cracked it. That was the year Coach came in. I cracked it my sophomore year. I ended up, I can't remember if I started in the beginning, but I think I ended up starting. And that was my sophomore year, Brad Brownell senior year. And we had Tim Moore, who ended up going to Eastern Illinois. So we had a pretty decent team right at that time. I think we ended up losing in the sectional championship to Memorial that year.
What sort of expectations did you have coming in as a sophomore, coming to the varsity level?
Oh, I didn't have any expectations. I was just trying to contribute to the team the best I possibly could. Whatever I needed to do, whether it needed to just play defense, rebound, just give energy. That's all I wanted to do. Because at the time, Brad and Tim Moore were the two main guys, along with Derek Kelly. And so I just tried to just fit in and do my job and do my part and try to help the team win.
You mentioned your junior year. I think you said you really made leaps and bounds or improved quite a bit. What led to that? What was that junior season like?
I think because Coach Vandeventer gave me more responsibility, allowed me to be more of a scorer for the team, put the ball in the basket, and just gave me more responsibility in that regard, shooting the basketball, defending probably the best player, pushing me to the point to where it's like, yeah, I need you to be, in order for us to be successful, I need you to be I need you to be the best player on pretty much every night, or try to be the best player on the team. And that's just by him giving me more responsibility really helped me to grow as a player.
And then obviously your senior season, the story unfortunately for you is the foot injury, the broken foot. Explain that situation, when that occurred, and especially how that affected you, both mentally as well as physically, and all those other, the success of the team.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough because we had that year. That was the year that we thought we had an opportunity to win the state title. Myself, Chris, Lowry, Kevin Tapp, Sean Wise, Carl Helt, Darren Winstead, Brent Kell. We had a really, really good basketball team. And And for that to happen that way, it was tough. And but we really had a great year. At the time, I think when I did break my foot, I think we were undefeated, number 2 in the state at the time. And we had played, I kind of remember that as clear as day. We played Terre Haute South up in the Holman Center in Indiana State. And I do remember the first 8 minutes. I mean, I came out like a house of fire. I think I can't remember if I scored 8 of the first 10 points or, because at that time it was like, yeah, we're playing Terre Haute South. They're the number 1 team in the state. We're going to let them know who we are. And so I came out on fire. And then all of a sudden, I think I turned and I come down. And all of a sudden, I think I might have rolled my ankle. And when I rolled it, I felt a pop. And normally I've always had a pretty high pain tolerance. So especially if I rolled my ankle, it would hurt for a split second. But then at the time, it would end up getting better, and I would continue to play. But this pain wouldn't go away, and it was near my foot. So I come out for a minute, and then Coach Van Dievener asked me if I want to give it a try, and I said, let's give it a try. And then I went out there, tried to run, and once I tried to push off, there was nothing. I couldn't move. I couldn't move. So, and that's when I knew something was wrong. So, come to find out, it ended up being a broken foot, and my season ended up being over. So that was pretty tough. Yeah, that was pretty tough because I really thought we had a chance to win the championship that year. I think the only team that we thought would probably give us some problems was Lawrence North with Eric Montross and Todd, my old teammate Todd Leary, and they ended up winning the championship that year.
You mentioned those high expectations, those state championship aspirations. Evansville probably feels like they're overlooked quite often. So was there a bit of a chip on your shoulder or some sort of we're carrying the banner for Southwestern Indiana, or this is, anything along those lines?
Oh, no doubt. And I think even more so, and this is probably more important to me than probably the state part of it, I think us carrying the mantle for Southern Indiana in terms of us being the team as opposed to Boston Memorial, all these other teams that have been around for such a long time and have really, won the sectional, come out of our region with a sectional and regional title or semi-state title. We had a chip on our shoulder, me especially, because I was going to prove to everybody, and our team was going to prove to everybody that, hey, that we can win this championship. Harrison hasn't been there before, but I think we can get there this season. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But at the same time, I think we did play with a chip on our shoulder, and we were one of the better teams in the state that year. Just sometimes circumstances happen that you can't control.
I'm interested. You were named a 1989 Indiana All-Star. Did you participate? What was your experience with the All-Star selection?
Yeah, I participated in the festivities and everything, and I actually sat during the games. I just couldn't play. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think the highlight of it all was when we had it was the All-Star banquet up at the Masonic Temple in Indianapolis. And Julius Erving, he's my idol growing up. He spoke, and when he spoke, I got a chance to meet him. It was like, man, I was like, this is unbelievable. So that was definitely the highlight of my All-Star experience, getting a chance to meet Julius Erving, Dr. J, and I've been watching this guy on TV for years, and he's been one of the best players in the world for years, and to have an opportunity to say hi and shake his hand was an unbelievable experience.
So that actually was something I intended to ask you earlier. Everybody has a childhood basketball role model, idol, the guy they want to be. Was it always Dr. J? Was he your only guy?
Oh, no question. He was the guy. The Philadelphia 76ers was my team. And so every time I kind of like, I always lived and died by them winning and losing. So like, every time they got to the playoffs and they would play Boston Celtics and then Boston would beat them, I would cry. Because you wanted to see, Julius Erving and the 76ers win a championship so bad. And so, so I was big time Sixers and Dr. J fan.
So did you practice the move where he goes up and goes under the basket and lays it in from the reverse side?
I tried it, but it didn't work out too well for me.
I've got to imagine at some point you were capable and perfected that move.
every now and then, yeah. But at that time, no, I was like, that's what you do there. You always try the moves of your idols, and see if it works out for you. But that's how much he meant to me.
I want to talk briefly about your college career. You've been interviewed and profiled elsewhere with the ins and outs of your time at IU. The one thing that stands out to me, and I'm going to interject myself here. So in 1993, you are the National College Player of the Year. I'm 10 years old, and I think that you walk on water. And I'm curious, because of the element that basketball plays, and especially at that point in time, as prevalent as IU was and successful as IU was, to be the best player on IU, de facto kind of means you're like the most popular guy in Indiana, and you're 21, 22 years old. I'm just curious, what is it like to be the man at IU and, like I said, arguably the most popular guy in our entire state?
I would, if any, I don't know, Chris and I, we've met, we've talked on numerous occasions. Yeah, anybody that knows me, I'm not that. It's kind of weird, but at the same time, you don't let something like that get to you or get to your head. I've always been a modest guy who's always been about team, and so I never try to let any of that get to me. If anything, I would try to run from it sometimes. But at the same time, it was interesting because never in a million years did I ever think that I would be in that position to win a College Basketball Player of the Year awards and be the Big Ten and University all-time leading scorer. I never thought that in a million years, and to have been able to accomplish those things. Obviously, I couldn't have done it without my team, my teammates, and what they've done, and what we've done, and what we were able to do during the 4 years that I was there. It was a lot of fun, and to walk on campus. And I think one of the greatest things about Indiana and Indiana University being a basketball school is, like, no matter, and this is what I loved about the students and all the students on our campus, whether win or lose, the day after a game, if you play a home game or you're on the way and you come back the night after the game, either after you won or lost, they're always there to say, give you a pat on the back and say, hey, nice try, great game, or no matter what. And that's what makes IU, the university, so special, is that they're such great basketball fans that are great, and and to them it's about the pureness of the game, and that's what I really enjoyed about being in Indiana, and being able to experience that. Because when I first left Evansville, Indiana wasn't the first place I wanted to go. It was actually it was Purdue that I wanted to go to first, and then after that it was Kentucky. So, when I had an experience of coming to a game to see Indiana play Purdue, and I think this is when Jay Edwards hit the shot to win the game for him. It was like a last second shot. I said I knew this is the place that I wanted to be, and but that's how much Indiana basketball means to them.
What a fascinating story. I am interested now that you mentioned that. I mean, what led you? Were you a Purdue fan, or you just thought you would fit there? Or what were you interested in Purdue and Kentucky?
No, I was a Purdue fan. I was, Everett Stevens, Troy Lewis. Troy Lewis. I was a big time fan. They were really, really good at the time, and I used to watch them on TV all the time, and really, really enjoyed it. And then at the same time, Kentucky, UK, Eddie Sutton was coaching there at the time, and I was a big fan there. And I like Rex Chapman when he played there, and a couple other guys. But I would, since we're like we're the pocket city, so we're down by the river. So we got a lot of Kentucky games, and obviously we got a lot of Purdue games as well as Indiana games. So I watched all three, but the team that I really wanted to play for at the time was Purdue.
So I'm also curious, you have the moment your sophomore year with Coach Vandevetter you mentioned about him lighting a fire under you, letting you know how good you could be. You said you didn't have these dreams that you'd become IU's all-time leading scorer, the Big Ten all-time leading scorer, the National College Player of the Year. Was there a moment, an experience, anything along your college path that led you to believe, oh my gosh, I can do all these things?
It didn't become evident until probably my when I got to about my sophomore year in college. It's like, well, I got an opportunity to do some things here. If I stay the course and keep working hard and dedicate myself to the game, I'll be fine. And Coach Knight, that's where Coach Knight, Coach Felling, Coach Godgiven, those guys, Coach Ellenberger, really pushed us, not only myself, but they pushed us as a team to get better. And I think Coach Knight helped me in a way in terms of the competitive part of it, not just from the go out there, just once the ball's rolled out, go out and play. No, you got to prepare, get yourselves ready, study the team, what they want to do against us and what we need to do against them, knowing who you're guarding, preparing yourself to get ready to play. And that's the other, obviously that's, you want to compete physically, but you also want to be able to compete mentally. And it got to the point to where we were like, we knew we were going to win the game, just by how much. And that's how prepared we were for each game. And that's what Coach Knight taught not only myself but the team.
Picked 6th in the NBA draft. You had a nice NBA career. I'm interested if any of those stops stands out to you, was most memorable, your favorite city, anything like that of the franchises you played with.
They're all great cities. Washington was great because you have an opportunity. I'd never been outside the state of Indiana, much less going anywhere else. I've been in AAU, and we would bus. I think the first time I ever took a plane was my senior year. I think my senior year in high school. First time I ever took a plane. So it was different. But Washington was a great city, and we lived there for like 16 years. Even after I went elsewhere, we just loved the city. My wife's mom lives there, and obviously living in the Bay Area. But I think that the best organization that I was at was Utah at the time, because I got a chance to play with John Stockton and Karl Malone. I wish I would have had a chance to play with them in their prime. I think that year was John's last year, and Karl's next to last year. The next year after that, when we lost in the playoffs, Karl went to the Lakers for a year. And to have an opportunity to play with those guys and be coached by Jerry Sloan, who is a former University of Evansville ace player, where they won a couple of national championships when he was there, and he was a former NBA player. That was a fun organization to play for. Even if it was just for a year, it was fun because they knew they got it. They knew what they needed to do. They understood themselves as an organization and what they need to do as a team, and that was a lot of fun it was a lot of fun to play for that organization.
So I've also got to ask you, The Last Dance, the documentary on Michael Jordan and the Bulls, has just completed, and everybody's been watching it. So any games against Jordan, any experiences, any Jordan stories that come to mind for you?
Yeah, one. This is when we played him in the playoffs. This is funny. So we're, I think it's game 2. When I was in Washington, we're game 2, and this is when he had like 55. So I had a pretty good game myself, but up to that point, I think he had scored like, we were making a run, and every game was close. Because we feel like we matched up pretty well with them, and I think that was the year that they won 69 or 70 games. We beat them maybe once or twice that year, and in the regular season. So we felt like we matched up pretty decently with him. And then, but Mike goes off for like 55 in game 2. So he's going crazy in the fourth quarter, and I'm doing everything. And he's just making shot after shot after shot. And there's only so much you can do. All you can do is just try to slow him down. But once he gets going, it's tough to slow him down. And then he hits this one shot, turnaround jump shot, over his left shoulder toward the baseline. And I swear it looked like he was parallel to the ground when he shot it. And he lands on his ass. We had to call a timeout. So we go to timeout, and then we come out of the timeout, and we're standing next to one another. So actually, I think I'm standing there. He comes up next to me, and I think I'm leaning over on my shorts, and he goes down on his shorts. He's like, Cal, are you tired yet? And I said, me? Am I tired yet? Are you tired yet? I said, so at the time, that was when he had a really, really good game in game 2. And we had actually had a chance to win that game and came up short. But it just goes to show how wonderful player he is. And he's by far the best player I ever played against. And I think he's the best player to ever play the game. But to have the opportunity to go up against him and play against him was a lot of fun.
To wrap things up, following your playing career, now coaching has been a part of your life. You were on staff at Indiana for a while. You went with Coach Cruz and were assistant coach at St. Louis University. And most recently, you've been in the G League. So fill our listeners in on your coaching career and what the future might hold for you in that world.
We'll see. I mean, obviously, at some point, you're gonna like to be a head coach, but right now, I mean, I really enjoy the G League because the G League allows you, these kids. I think you want to say 45, anywhere from 45 to 50% of the players in the NBA came from the G League. So we kind of pride ourselves on trying to help develop these kids and try to get them to the next level. And it's a lot of, I really, really enjoy it. I've been with the College Park Skyhawks. This is our inaugural past year was our inaugural year. And unfortunately, the season got cut short because of the pandemic. But like I said, I really enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun for me because it allows you to help the development, help the kids to achieve their dream. I had people when I was growing up help achieve. There have been a lot of people that they may know or they may not know that had an impact on me in terms of helping me achieve my goals, and I just want to pay it forward and try to do the same thing and try to help these kids try to help them achieve their goals, and that's playing at the highest level and doing something they love to do. And that's all that matters to me. That's why I do it, and that's why I enjoy it. And whether I'm coaching at this level, at the college level, or high school level, or in the elementary school, it's all basketball, and it's all about trying to help kids get better.
Calbert, as a kid who, as I said, thought you walked on water, thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing your memories. This has been a ton of fun. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, Chris. Thanks a lot.
Revisiting his story with Michael Jordan, it was April 27th, 1997. The Washington Bullets and the Chicago Bulls met in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. It was Game 2 of the best-of-3 series. Calbert had a team-high 26 points for Washington, while his Airness went 22 of 35 from the field for 55 points. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame podcast. If you haven't yet, please subscribe through your favorite podcast portal. If you're listening through Apple Podcasts, please help us out by leaving a review and a rating. You can also help by sharing this episode and others on your personal social media page with friends and family. And you can follow us on social media, the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, with pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Visit us online, our website, hoopshall.com, and we hope you'll stick around for more future editions of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame podcast.